Welcome to this InfoHub special report. In this program, we highlight the recent community meetings by several government ministers who traveled to the Pomeroon to engage residents in the riverine area. In our first segment, we will take a look at the engagements held in the Lower Pomeroon region. In the small riverine community of Liberty, there is evidence of the government's efforts to close the socio-economic gap between the coast and the hinterland communities.
Minister of Social Protection Amna Ali and Minister of Public Service Tabitha Sarbo-Hali engaged residents in an interactive session. The ministers were part of the larger team that visited the Pomeroon over the weekend. Minister Amna Ali noted that villagers in the riverine community are the beneficiaries of improved health and educational facilities and free transportation for the children via the David G. Boat Initiative. She said as the government continues to work to meet the needs of citizens, persons residing on both the coast and hinterland will be exposed to the same level of service. Echoing Minister Ali's sentiments, Minister Sarbo-Hali reiterated that more is yet to come as government is intent on bridging the socio-economic gap that exists across the country. To this end, she said her ministry is offering scholarships in agriculture, ensuring more persons can earn a living while further developing the sector. The residents also were the beneficiaries of farming tools, farming seeds, long boots, and more than 100 pairs of shoes were distributed to the children of the community. For InfoHub, Ayana George.
Residents of Akwini are to get a second footbridge. Minister of Public Infrastructure, the Honorable David Patterson, made this commitment during his visit to the village.
This comes after the village council made a proposal to the public infrastructure minister to have a footbridge constructed to link St. Chad's and Barocaro sub-communities within Akwini. The main beneficiaries will be students attending the primary school in Barocaro.
We see it would benefit the residents of Barocaro and St. Chad's because there are many school children at St. Chad's which have to cross from one point to the other to reach the school.
That was Esau, an Akwini Village Council member. Meanwhile, another resident, Paulette Richards, spoke about the current difficulty with the boating system and expressed her desire to see the bridge constructed.
Sometimes the children them don't have boat to come to school from the other islands, them right? So if the bridge should build from Barcar to St. Chad's, I believe it would be a great exhaustion.
Minister Patterson pledged to work along with village leaders to have the bridge in place as soon as possible.
Easiest way for us to do, you all have the timber around here, right? We do the same thing like we did with the walkway. We try and get the community to cut the timber and we pay you for it. I'll speak to the deputy Tusha will speak to you and him, and we get thing. And I look to see what we can do as soon as possible.
Construction of a footbridge would eliminate the costs attached for students to travel to school and would facilitate a smoother commute for other residents in the community. The bridge will mimic Akwini's first footbridge that was constructed in Barocaro this year.
Reporting from the indigenous community of Akwini in Region 2 with videographer Mahinda Raj, Shaquille Bourne, for InfoHub.
Still on infrastructure, farmers and residents of Hackney in the Pomeroon River will shortly benefit from drainage and irrigation relief in the coming week.
Scores of farmers in the Lower Pomeroon are breathing a sigh of relief as the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority will soon conduct a canal clearing exercise. In the coming week, the NDIA will be clearing the Hackney Canal, a crucial channel for farmers in the community. Hackney is a village 11 miles from Charity on the Essequibo coast and a 25-minute boat ride from the Charity Stelling. Largely an agricultural community, the clearing of this canal will boost agricultural productivity in the area. The announcement came during a community meeting in Hackney hosted by Minister of Education Dr. Nicolette Henry and Finance Minister Winston Jordan.
This is part of a larger program, whereas government ministers and officials, we are going to the regions to meet with residents to get a sense of what it is that they consider to be burning and pertinent issues.
The clearing of the canal comes on the heels of a recent visit by Chief Engineer of NDIA to get a first-hand glimpse of the work that was needed on several canals and villages along the Pomeroon River. For his part, Finance Minister Winston Jordan urged residents to equip themselves with the necessary skills so that they can benefit from Guyana's developing economy. From Hackney Village on the Lower Pomeroon River, with senior videographer Kwesi Wishart, Natisha Isaacs for InfoHub.
The Director General of the Ministry of the Presidency, Joseph Harmon, has given his assurance to the residents of Martindale that the coalition government would address their concerns. Director General Harmon, accompanied by Minister of Business Hemraj Rajkumar, traveled down the Pomeroon River where they met with residents of Martindale. Harmon noted the importance of these community meetings.
These are important things because it brings the benefit of government to the people, and that is what is important. That is what we're doing here today. We're not only bringing the benefits of government to the people, we are bringing the ears of government to the people so that you can actually say to us, what are the matters that affect you most? What are the issues that affect you?
Minister Rajkumar explained that the meeting is another in a series of community engagements the government has embarked on to ensure the needs of Guyanese across the nation are addressed.
We are fulfilling a mandate that was issued to us, all ministers in government, by His Excellency the President, to come to the committees throughout Guyana, which we were doing all along, to listen to the people's concerns, listen to what affects the citizens, so that we at Cabinet, we in Parliament could address their issues at this time, or if we are not able to do so at this time, then we will certainly be able to advise you.
The business minister also updated the residents on the Caribbean Court of Justice's ruling on the December 21, 2018 vote and reiterated the government's commitment to upholding the ruling of the court. He underscored the fact that the administration is operating legally but in an interim mode. Minister Rajkumar explained that this means the government will continue to carry out certain functions as allowed under the Constitution and will administer the business of the people until elections are held. During their visit, Minister Rajkumar and DG Harmon inspected the construction site for the new Neighborhood Democratic Council's office. The ministers also handed over shoes, sports equipment, and agriculture material to the residents. Minister of Agriculture, the Honorable Noel Holder, accompanied by his colleague, Minister of Public Health, the Honorable Vaudel Lawrence, visited the community of Friendship along the Pomeroon River to hear the concerns of the 3,000 coconut farmers in the area.
We're here in Grand Regina, where dozens of coconut farmers have come out to speak with Minister of Agriculture, Noel Holder, concerning the closure of one of the processing plants along the river.
We wish to further advise that we will be closing our production facility from the 1st of August onwards to continue the work necessary to comply with orders of the EPA in an effort to curtail dumping of the processed husk into the river. As mentioned, while we have a plan, this will be a trial and error exercise, and as such, we cannot provide an exact date by which we will be ready to be reopened.
The plant processes 15,000 coconuts per day, and the closure of it would affect thousands of farmers along the Pomeroon.
Whatever letter you may have received would have been prior to that decision, that was lifted. There has been a new approach as to how we will deal with him for committing that offense. But I trust that Mr. Alfonso will now let all the farmers know that the government have allowed him to continue to produce his water. But we did do that since Tuesday of this week.
With such a decision being taken by the government, thousands of farmers along the Pomeroon will have their livelihoods secured, while other methods are employed to deal with the plant. With videographer Adrian Prasad, I'm Nkosi Bruce for InfoHub.
Dozens of Region 2 residents welcomed the message of government's prudent financial management of the economy.
With Guyana on the cusp of first oil in 2020, the need to ensure that the country has proper financial management was emphasized when ministers met residents at the Marlborough Primary School in Lower Pomeroon.
If we do not also utilize that resource to make better citizens, to give the good life, to ensure that we keep some of the money in what is called a sovereign wealth fund for the purposes of the next generation, we must not go and spend it all out, because we get plenty of money now, we're going to go and spend it. It's like, the story, another biblical story, the fellow going to spend out all the money and so on one time. We have to make sure that we get this thing, set aside some for the next generation, 20 years from now.
Also attending the meeting was Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Karen Cummings, who noted that the country's oil resources must be protected for future generations.
We urge you to stand with us, to support us, and let us continue to work in your best interests and that of Guyana at large. Guyana is on the cusp of unprecedented development. Do not place your future in the hands of people who have already demonstrated that they are unfit, not fit and proper, to govern a country.
From the Marlborough Primary School in Lower Pomeroon with videographer Joanne Jordan, Paul McAdam for InfoHub.
With just 4 years under its belt, the coalition government has come in for high commendation from residents of Wakapo Village. The residents described the government's quality of service as second to none.
Nestled in the St. Lucian's Mission, some 26 miles down the Pomeroon River, with a population of just over 3,000, the mainly farming community has seen a remarkable transformation in every sector of the last 4 years. During the meeting held at the community's primary school, Ministers of Communities Ronald Bulkin and Annette Ferguson were asked to relay a thank you message to President David Granger for the extraordinary work his administration has been doing over the last few years.
We're on the way. We have achieved a lot. Our school is better staffed. Our medical section is operating better. We had Yarashima out there, Yarashima Health Center in the past. That health center was left as a white telecom. Since the coalition came in, now we have somebody stationed there to work in the health center. So they feel for us. And now I think I want to praise the President, Mr. Granger. I want to ask the Minister, Minister Bulkin, to pass on a message to him, to say that we're thankful, we're grateful for what he has done in his time.
That was community leader Telford Fredericks. Fredericks said despite the community's remoteness, the government was able to provide optimum service. Minister Bulkin in return praised the residents for underscoring the developments by the administration. One of the major differences between the administration and the former, he said, is that the coalition believes that Guyana belongs to everyone.
We did not look at the results of the last general elections and decided that we would mainly give support and government resources and projects to areas and communities that supported us. We did not do that. That would be irresponsible, and that is not how proper governments should function, especially in a country that is as divided as ours.
Meanwhile, Minister with responsibility for housing, Annette Ferguson, said that the government is an administration for all.
So I want you to understand that your government, this APNU AFC government, is not a government that is just looking after one set of people, but we are addressing all the needs.
Further, Minister Bulkin addressed the ongoing Guyana Election Commission's house-to-house registration, urging residents to be registered. He reiterated that the government only wants credible elections, which can only happen if there is a credible list from the house-to-house process. Reporting for InfoHub, Alexis Rodney.
Planned infrastructure upgrades for Dredge Creek and first-time access to eGov services for Jackalow. These and more after the break when we turn our cameras to the Upper Pomeroon region.
Are you ready to embark on a truly epic adventure to an undiscovered corner of South America, where some of the most spectacular natural attractions are unveiled within a beautifully diverse landscape? From the wetlands and savannas to the ancient mountains, magnificent waterways and lush enriching rainforest would provide a vast playground for some of the most exotic and breathtaking creatures on the planet, including many of the world's giant species. this untouched land of mystery and wonder serves up an exclusive experience for travelers. So are you ready for a new, awe-inspiring adventure? Welcome back to nature. Welcome to Guyana.
Welcome back. There are planned infrastructure upgrades for Dredge Creek. Minister within the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, the Honorable Jaipal Sharma, encouraged residents to work together to address the issue of flooding.
Residents of Dredge Creek in the Pomeroon is welcoming a commitment by the government to enhance infrastructure development in their community. The farming community is usually plagued by flooding.
One of the biggest concerns in this area for decades now is the drainage.
Minister Sharma related that the government had already begun to map out a flood alleviation plan with the community's support.
You know, the major issue that we face in this area because of the farming community is drainage issues. And so a number of proposals that was put forward. I think the engineers visited their community. They listened to some proposals from the senior members of the community. You need an exit to drain the land. And some of the issues is that maybe a canal needs to be dug out to the sea.
Residents also raised the issue of unemployment in their community and also called for repairs to the Lone Primary School.
My biggest issue is the school. The school needs to be built over the roof. We raised the issue with REO, but Dredge Creek School, the school up there. The road leading to the school is very, I don't know how to explain, sheer mud. The children have to waddle in mud because the rice farmers use the dam with the tractor to go into the back dam because it's the main access road to the farm.
Minister Sharma assured residents their concerns would be relayed to the relevant ministers in order for them to be addressed.
I'm going to pass the information to the Minister of Education, Minister Henry, and I will pass the information also to Minister Cathy that have responsibility for communication.
From Dredge Creek in the Upper Pomeroon with videographer Kareem Peters, Felicia Valenzuela, InfoHub.
Residents of the community of Jackalow will soon have first-time access to e-government services.
This was disclosed by the Minister of Public Telecommunications, Catherine Hughes, when she met with the villagers at the Jackalow Primary School.
We're setting it up so that most of those services, once you got internet connection, which you're going to have right here in this space, you could come and do your application online. It means that you don't have to now travel to charity or to some center where you got to get the GRA office or the passport office. You could stay close to your community and get those services done online.
The minister also announced that she will visit the community within the next 2 months to donate tablets to students to assist in their education development. The community is set to be online by August 15th, after which ICT training will be provided to the residents, according to Minister Hughes. Also accompanying Minister Hughes at the meeting was Minister of Social Cohesion, Honorable Dr. George Norton, who pledged to establish a playfield for the young people of the village.
This administration under His Excellency David Granger is saying, judge us by our works. If you think we're doing enough in that last 4 years or so, then you judge us. Give us that opportunity to continue doing what we're doing, and you will not have anything to worry about.
The ministers also distributed sports gear and equipment and agricultural material, among other essentials. Neola Damon, InfoHub.
Meanwhile, over at Abrams Creek, residents were encouraged to form a community development council. This will help them to address their concerns in a more organized manner.
Residents of Abrams Creek in the Upper Pomeroon River on Sunday met Minister within the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, Valerie Garrido-Lowe, and Minister with responsibility for labor, Keith Scott, during a community meeting. The residents raised several issues that needed addressing, the most pressing being the need for proper drainage for their lands, both residential and farm lands. Minister Garrido Lowe advised them to form a community development council so they could better organize and address the issues.
Many of these CDCs, the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, support with the presidential grant. And as you said, cokers need to be built and maybe potable water needs to be distributed. Whatever it is, every year, once you're getting that grant, you come up with a developmental project. All right, but you have to install this governing body first.
According to the minister, this will help them to fast-track assistance from the various arms of government that can assist with funding community development projects. The minister spoke of the many opportunities that exist in the agriculture sector and urged the residents to venture into value-added products. Minister Garrido Lowe noted that since the current administration took office, much progress has been made, and this can be seen as the government is working hard, ensuring that people's lives are being touched in a positive way. Minister Scott said with the government's track record of development in just 4 years, persons can deduce for themselves that the administration has been delivering on promises made. He reminded that while there is expected boost from the imminent oil production, there is still a place for agriculture.
Not only oil makes you rich, but your farm makes you rich. Your farm is agriculture, and Guyana is an agricultural country. We are in the basket of the West Indies. We feed the West Indies. Many of you in this very river are aware of how much plantains have been gone and put on boats from here to there.
Minister Scott urged them to consider forming a farmers' co-op in order to expand and develop as farmers. One farmer, Ivan Bacchus, expressed appreciation for the outreach and commended the president for his steadfast commitment to the development of Guyana.
This man got a determination of the people of Guyana, to bring Guyana before where it was. And I can see there's a development now into this country.
For InfoHub, Nikosi Bruce.
The coalition government has better represented the indigenous peoples. Minister of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, the Honorable Sidney Alicock, made it his duty to ensure the village of Karawab is aware of the efforts of his government in this regard.
During a community meeting, Minister of Indigenous Peoples Affairs Sidney Alicock outlined that under the coalition government, indigenous peoples have better access to quality education, benefited from improved road infrastructure and health facilities. This, he said, is part of the strategic plan for hinterland development, which was laid out by President David Granger in 2015.
The president is very passionate about the development of the hinterland and more particularly the indigenous peoples. And we have embarked upon that road by developing what we call a plan for a green state through a green economy, leading on to a good life.
The intention, Minister Alicock noted, is to ensure each and every Guyanese, regardless of their location, benefited from access to quality public service.
We believe in a united body. We believe and respect each and every Guyanese. And for my section, which is the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, you will know that we have 2 ministers within that ministry, meeting out, trying to create opportunities for everyone in the hinterland, especially the young people.
The residents also had the opportunity to raise issues and concerns affecting them. A request was made for an additional boating engine to transport students from far-flung areas and a boat for health emergencies. The minister promised to have the relevant ministries address the issue. He also presented the village with a quantity of sports gears for the youths.
The successes of the coalition were also highlighted during a meeting with residents of Kabakaburi. Minister of State, the Honorable Dawn Hastings Williams, made this her stop to engage with the villagers.
The minister was accompanied by Member of Parliament Honorable Mervyn Williams, who both took note of the progress made in the village since the current government took office 4 years ago.
Guyana is moving in the right direction in its economic terms. We like 4% we have grown over the years. We're doing well socially. We have done well. We're doing well educationally. Recently, we've had some very good surprises. Well, if not surprises, because as a government, we did put in a lot of work.
In her interactions with the villagers, Minister Hastings Williams said that it was satisfying to observe the many interventions implemented in Kabukuburi and surrounding villages in the Pomeroon River. She pointed to the fact that President David Granger has visited this village twice within 6 months. This, she said, demonstrates the government's interest in narrowing the gap in the quality of life in this village with other communities in the region. MP Mervyn Williams outlined some completed projects along with others ongoing.
These projects are worthy of mention. We've had a cargo boat built, another one being built, am I right?
Start.
Yes? No, being built, in progress. We have constructed a new building to house our secondary school, yes? We never had one of those before. And we have constructed a building to house our teachers who will be working in our secondary school when it opens.
Williams said that these developments are all initial steps in the coalition's first term in office. He added that more will be realized when the government returns to complete the work they've started. Natisha Isaacs for InfoHub.
This brings us to the end of the InfoHub special report. Connect with us on WhatsApp, Facebook, and YouTube. Much more news is on our website, dpi.gov.gy, and pop over to Instagram for the latest photo updates at DPI Guyana. Goodbye.